Hi guys, welcome back. Offset here. I know it's been a while. Um, the past couple of months have been um different, challenging. July, especially. I'll just give you a brief rundown. Let's see. I was diagnosed with bilateral carpal tunnel syndrome, so that explains why I had difficulty working with a pair of scissors or sometimes even holding my toothbrush. I had a birthday. I'm 62 now. My birthday was on the 28th. Yay, me. Um, and I lost my mom. My mom transitioned on the 10th of July, and we had her homegoing on the 21st of July, a week before my birthday. So, needless to say, July will never be the same for me. So, but I'm here, even though I'm grieving. Um, I'm back. My mom, you know, she taught me that with life's challenges, that you should continue to move forward. You know, she'd want me to flourish. She'd want me to enjoy my life. That she taught me how to get through life with wisdom and courage. So, um, with that said, I want to do a response to Julie from the Curated Curvy. I'm sorry. So Julie referred to a podcast that came from Love to Sew. The podcast was done in May, and it was a focus on this or that. And we as sewists, we have ways of doing things, whether it's having a huge stash to having just a few pieces of fabric on hand. So this vlog, I'm going to respond by addressing some of the questions and some of the topics that were brought up. So there are four topics. I don't know why I say five. Four topics. The first one is sewing prep, and that's about your stash and everything pertaining to getting things done. Then we have fabrics, how you manipulate fabrics, take care of your fabric, work with it. Clothing construction, how do you do that? How do you finish things? And your sewing habits. Okay, so topic number one is sewing prep. And, there's no right or wrong. So the first question is shopping for new fabric or shopping your stash. Well, you can see I've got a huge stash here. There, yeah, all of that. Um, that's just a portion of it. So I'm not project oriented when I purchase fabric. I purchase fabric because I'm a magpie, and if it's bright, shiny, colorful, and Ankara, more than likely, I'm gonna buy it. Now, back in the dark ages, in the 70s, when I was learning how to sew, of course, you bought the pattern, and you bought the fabric, and so you were project oriented. But one of the things I can say, excuse me, probably seeing the back of my head right now. Yep. My mother, um, she would buy fabric just enough to complete a project. She sewed for me and my two sisters. I mean, I have three brothers. She do a lot of sewing for the boys. Maybe she did pajamas and such like that. But for us, and even though there's an age difference with the three of us, for the most part, she would dress us like triplets. Anyway, um, my mom is self-taught. And let me see, I can pull this. And the book that she worked with is this book. Can you see it? The Pictorial Guide to Modern Home Dressmaking. This book came out in the 40s, I want to say, and it had everything in here. Um, that. Let's get this light going. There we are. Well, you know. And this is what she used to draft her patterns. So we'll go back to that in a little bit. So shopping versus shopping new, shopping for your stash. I'll go through my stash if I have one of my patterns. I have something in mind. When I buy a piece of fabric, I have an idea in mind, and hopefully the two, will meet in the middle, and I can create something beautiful. PDFs or paper patterns? That's the next question. So you all know that I'm not really a fan of PDFs. I have a couple left. I just gave away the Zadie jumpsuit PDF because too many pages. I have another PDF pattern. There is just no way. I will never put that pattern together, ever. It's for the Tory jacket, Montoya Mayo's design, and it used almost a ream of paper, if you know what I mean, how many pages. It was a lot. It was a lot. So I will always use paper patterns, number one, because, they're very inexpensive. I do a lot of tissue fitting, so I work with paper patterns. And as I said, my mom, that's one of the things, she never bought a paper pattern. This is what she worked with, brown paper, to do her drafting and working out things that way. So the third question now, cutting or tracing? And that's either you're going to cut into your pattern or you're going to trace it. I don't trace patterns at all. I will go right in and cut what I need and cut around and work with it there. As I said, patterns are fairly inexpensive. I remember when I was buying patterns for 99 cents. I mean, for them to like double in price, I'm telling you, we used to buy patterns for 99 cents. Okay, and muslin or go for it. So make a muslin or just cut into your fabric and stitch it up. Well, my mom used to say every spoil is a style, meaning like if you put something together, especially after you've done like a draft or you just freehand cut out of the fabric and it needed something, then I learned how to insert pieces to make it wider, or how to pleat or gather or share the fabric to make it smaller. So I've never done a muslin for myself. I don't do muslins. I do tissue fitting, meaning I'll just put it together and just see if I need to do a slash and spread, an FBA or something like that. But I've never done a muslin for myself. Now, back in the dark ages when I used to sew for other people, I did muslins for the clients because time was of the essence a lot of times, and it was just easier to fit and create the garment using a muslin. So topic number 2 are fabrics. Now, what do you guys think? You think I prefer to shop in store or online? I mean, House of Mami Wata. Let me see. Over here. Oh, it's so bizarre. There. Fashion Fabrics Club. What's the one in Pennsylvania? Sinking, Pennsylvania. Fabric Mart Fabrics. I'm an online shopper. Over the years, I've become an online shopper. And this is probably, due to the situation we had in 2020. Prior to that, when Hancock's was open, oh my gosh, I used to love to go to Hancock's. Joann's used to be okay. Before Joann's became Joann, it was Sofro, then it went to House of Fine Fabrics, and then it was Joann. And I don't know, my Joann's, unfortunately, they become more craft stores, so there's a lot of quilting cotton, calico. I'm not really finding a lot of dressmaking fabrics or anything like that. So it's rare when I find something that I want to buy from Joann. So I would do online shopping for what I need. And as I said, I have a very healthy stash. I'm going to be shopping my stash for a little bit moving forward. Okay. Knits or wovens? Well, ooh, let's turn her around. Okay. So, both knits and wovens. Let me see. As I said, I have a ton of Ankara. These are going to be pieces. I'm going to do a response in regards to my handmade essentials. And believe it or not, these are part of my handmade essentials. So, both actually. Tumble dry or hang to dry. Again, this is both. When I make something, well, let me give you this disclaimer. I don't always pre-wash my fabric. I don't. I like to hang it up in the bathroom with a lot of steam and lavender peppermint oil and steam it that way. Because I have to go to a laundromat. I live in a building where the washer and dryer are down in the basement. It's not really safe for me. So I have to go to the laundromat. So I've learned how to work with my fabric. I treat my fabric the way that when the garment is made up, that's how I'm going to take care of the garment. So tumble dry for me, and then I'll let it finish drying, being hung up in the bathroom. Rotary cutter or scissors? Scissors. Do you know there's a difference between scissors and shears? And if you know what the difference is, put that in the comments. So in 1983, I discovered rotary cutters. I was living in Germany, and I didn't know that there was supposed to be a mat. I was just very excited about using this new contraption that supposedly cut things out much faster. And that evening, I proceeded to cut out a pattern on my bed. Thank goodness I had like bedspread and sheets and all of that. And not really paying attention, I moved to the floor and was cutting out the rest of the items. And when I saw what I had done, the damage I had done to the carpet, that's when I went to my bed and saw the disaster. So that was actually my last time dealing with a rotary cutter until 3 years ago when I was making hundreds of masks. My friend told me that it was much faster, where you can cut out multiple layers, and yeah. Am I a fan? No. It serves a purpose. I have one. I'm a scissors girl. I will go back to scissors. Again, if you know the difference between scissors and shears, leave that in the comments. So now we're on to topic number 3, which is clothing construction. I'm getting used to looking at a webcam here. I know I'm pointing, wow, and not looking there. So bear with me. You guys know I don't edit, so what you see is what you get right now. So, topic number 3, clothing construction. Question 1, do you follow instructions or you just wing it? So, in a pattern, I read the instructions. I like to read the instructions so I can see their order of operations, meaning how they want you to go ahead and proceed to put the garment together. But that's not necessarily the way that I sew. I do what I call chain stitching. So as many pieces that I can sew together that don't cross, then I'm going to sew all those pieces together. So I will sit down, I will spend time. That's a big part of my prepping, is reading the instructions to see if there's anything new. Then I put that aside, and then I put the pieces together and stitch them up that way. And then for the most part, yeah, I wing it. Now I keep the instructions close, but I don't follow them line for line. Number 2, bias tape or facings. Both, again. Bias tapes I like to use for more decorative finishing, and of course facings. I know a lot of people have issues with facings because they don't stay in, but if you construct them correctly, they will stay in. Um, I usually like to make them a little bit bigger, make a facing that's all in one to cover the neckline and the arm side all together so there's no chance of it flipping out. And then I also like to stitch it down in the seam here and under the arm. So again, no chance of it flipping out. Let's see, serge seams or French seams? Wow. Well, right now I do prefer serge seams because French seams, I'm trying to get things done. French seams, again, that's something my mom and I bonded over sewing and between the hot comb and the dressmaker's pins, we did a lot of bonding. But she always told me that your inside should be as beautiful as the outside. So it could be flat felled seam, but I grew up using pinking shears a lot, overcasting a seam. A lot of times I did that manually. I'm really grateful to have an overlocker now, but I did a lot of things manually. Button fly or zip fly? Well, I'm gonna not do anything. I'm going to convert that button fly to a zip fly. I'm not interested in any button flies. Let's see, buttons put on by hand or by machine. Again, I'll put my buttons on by hand. I know that you can do it on the machine, but I'm kind of fearful that the needle will hit the button, so I'm just not even going to bother. I prefer to put my buttons on by hand because I just have a particular way of putting them on that makes it very, very secure. It's only in the past maybe 10 years that I started to use my machine to make buttonholes because, again, I used to do all handwork buttonholes on my garments. So question number 6, fusible interfacing versus sewn-in interfacing. Again, I started sewing in the 70s. Fusible interfacing didn't exist, so it was sewn in, and I really, you learn how to work with sewn-in interfacing. There's a technique where the outside edge of, let's say, the facing is stitched to the outside edge of the interfacing. You stitch that down, and then you turn it over, and then both are stitched to the seam. I guess maybe I have to do a demonstration or find a demonstration. But you could do that with your facing, so that way on the outside you didn't have a raw edge. Sewn-in interfacings have their purpose. They tend to be sturdier. They're good for like tailoring, putting in blazers, cuffs, if you're making bags, things like that. I do like a nice fusible interfacing. Sometimes I have to double up to get the weight that I'm looking for. So have both in your stash. Let's see, snip as you go or do you snip all at once? So as I said earlier, I do what I call chain stitching. So I'll do all the shoulder seams as much as I can, any side seams, any straight seams, all of that. I'll do all of that in one pass while I'm sitting at the machine. And then I snip everything. So as I go along, I snip. I don't wait until the product, the item, the project, the creation, the garment is finished to do any snipping. Press as you go or all at once. Oh no, honey, if you don't know anything else, you must press your seams as you go. Again, back to chain stitching. That's why I like to do all of that. And then I snip, and I can be at the ironing station, my ironing board, a pressing station, and do all my pressing one time and be done. But you must press your seams before they cross another seam. Absolutely. That's one of the other things my mom taught me. Your seams should be basically pressed into submission because that's the opportunity that you have to mold that fabric to fit your body. So work with that steam and that metal to shape the cloth. You can manipulate that much better than if you try to do it under a machine. You'd be surprised. You can shrink out fullness and, you can shrink in shape. Anyway, that's a totally different thing. Going off on a tangent. And topic number 4, sewing habits. Let's see. Question number 1, late night or daytime? Well, when my son was young, I worked all day. I would come home and sew late at night. Um, as I've gotten older, my eyes aren't where they used to be, so I try to take advantage of sewing in the day. I actually have to make time now to sew in the day. I want to get back to that, take advantage of while I'm awake and clear, and I can see beautiful colors and lines in the eye of the needle. I want to be in that place. So now I'm moving to daytime sewing. Question number 2, slow and steady or frantic sewing? Again, I'm a procrastinator, so um, definitely not slow and steady. Okay, when I start a project, I need to be done in a day, 2 days. I mean, I've gotten up early to work on a project. When I've done coats, I get up early in the morning, sew all day into the night because I just feel I need to be finished within 24, 48 hours. Um, yeah, unless I'm doing something on the bias, but that means the project is just about done and you're just waiting for the bias to hang and all of that. And question number 3, tidy as you go or one big cleanup? Okay, so I call what I do surface tidying, meaning, I get rid of the scraps and the threads and everything, but I do not throw anything out until I've completed the project. I've had a couple of mishaps where I've thrown away scraps or what I thought was scraps and it was a collar or, a front binding. Um, I've thrown away a pattern piece that I needed, because you cut off the excess pattern and you think it's trash, and it ended up being a cuff or something that I needed. So when I am done with a project, then that's when I'll do a one big cleanup as much as I can, and then I move on to the next project. So that answers my questions. That answers those questions. You see, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. Have some patience with me. I am going to tag a few other people, a few other channels that I have been enjoying watching. And I think you guys might enjoy watching them as well if you're not already. So, Patrice of My Embellished Life, fellow Caribbean girl. I really love her vibe and her energy. I love her laugh. Rebecca, my sister from another mother of Tribeca Designs. Thank you so much, honey, for holding me. Grace of So Lovely with Grace, another sister. Again, thank you so much for keeping me in your hearts. Chilisa of So Cheese Designs. We're on the same, well, she's in Richmond, I'm in Maryland, so we're neighbors, but not quite neighbors, but still. Her fabric hauls, especially when she goes to Walmart, are off the hook. I go to my Walmart up here and I can't find anything. And then Martika of Martika J Makes. I love her energy. I love what she does. So these are the channels that I would like to hear their responses to, because everybody that I've watched, they all have different ways of working. So I'm curious to see what they're all bringing. And with that, I am complete. I do have 2 more things, so I'm not quite complete. Number 1 is we all have a fabric stash. Well, most of us do. Do any of you have that fabric? Like if you go through and you find that particular piece of fabric, you go down memory lane and you think, oh, I remember when I bought this and what I was going to make. and you changed your mind, that's great. But what about the fabric that you bought? And when you find it, you're like, what was I thinking? So I bought this turquoise pleather. I don't know, I had in mind to make like a Dick Tracy trench coat, and it's aqua color. I don't know, I just fell in love with it. That's one piece. And then I have this. Let's see. It's an animal print. I'm going to do something with this lighting. Okay, that's better. It's an animal print, but you see what you're looking at here is the wrong side. It's actually furry, fuzzy. I don't know what I was thinking when I bought this. So when I come back, I'm going to pull out a couple of pieces like this. And maybe you guys can give me some suggestions as to what I can do with these. What was I thinking? Oh, look at that. What was I thinking? So stay safe, stay blessed, and I will see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.